ओम गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं वामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्त्रमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणान् ब्रह्मणस्पत आनुशृण्वोति विश्वेदसादनम्। ओम महागणाधिपतये नमः। ओम केशवाय नमः। ओम नारायणाय नमः। ओम माधवाय नमः। ओम गोविन्दाय नमः। ओम विष्णुवे नमः। मत्सूदनाय नमः। त्रिविक्रमाय नमः। वामनाय नमः। श्रीधराय नमः। ऋषिकेशाय नमः। पद्मनाभाय नमः। दामोदराय नमः। संकर्षणाय नमः। वासुदेवाय नमः। प्रद्युम्नाय नमः। निरुद्धाय नमः। पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। दोक्षाय नमः। नारसिंहाय नमः। अच्युताय नमः। जनार्दनाय नमः। उपेन्द्राय नमः। हरे नमः। श्रीकृष्णाय नमः। श्रीकृष्णाय नमः। हरि ओम हरि ओम। शंभवे नमः। विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यंबकाय त्रिपुरांतकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकंठाय मृत्युंजयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः। हरि ओम हरि ओम। ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विच्चे। 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 Dear friends and devotees, we were discussing about Devi Bhagavatham Mahapurana, explaining the Purana to Janamejaya, king of the Hastinapura, by Vyasa Maharshi. Now, we came to the 10th chapter now. 10th chapter is the story of Satyavrata, the king called Satyavrata. Vyasa Maharshi, addressing the king Janamejaya, O King Janamejaya, that King Mandata, true to his promise, conquered one after another the whole world and became the paramount sovereign of all the other emperors and got the title of Sarvabhauma, sovereign of all the earth. O king, what more to speak Mandata's influence at that time than this, that all the robbers struck with his terror, all fled to the mountain caves. For this reason, Indra gave him the title Tradashu. He married Bindumati, the daughter of Swasuendu. Her limbs were proportionated and perfect, and so she was very beautiful. Mandata had by this wife two sons, the famous Purukutasta, and Muchukunda. Purukutasta had his son Anaranya. The prince is celebrated by the name of Brihadashva. He was very religious and deeply devoted to his father. His son was Haryashva. He is religious and knew the highest reality. His son was Tridhanva. So these are the lineage of the king of Mandata's lineage. His son was Tridhanva. His son was Aruna. Aruna's son was Satyavrata. He was very avaricious, lustful, wicked, and willful. Once on an occasion, that vicious prince, overpowered by lust, stole away the wife of one Brahmin and so created a hindrance in his marriage. O king, the Brahmins united in the body came to the king Aruna, bewailing and lamenting and uttered repeatedly, Alas, we are ruined. The king addressed to the grieved subjects, the Brahmins, O Brahmins, what harm has been done to you by my son? Hearing thus the good words of the king, the Vijayas, versed in the Vedas, repeatedly blessed him and said, O king, you are the foremost of the powerful. So your son is like you. Today he has forcibly stolen away during the marriage ceremony of Brahmin daughter already given over in her marriage. Vyasa Maharshi said, O king, the highly religious king, hearing the words of Brahmins, took them to be true and said to his son, O one of the evil understanding, you have rendered today your name useless by perpetrating this evil act. O vicious one, get away from my house. O sinner, you will never be able to live in my territory. Seeing his father angry, Satyavrata repeatedly said, Father, where shall I go? He asked. Live with Chandalas. You have stolen Brahmin's wife and so has acted like a Chandala. Go and live with them happily. Oh, disgrace to your family, I don't like to get issues through you. You have obliterated my family's name. O sinner, go wherever you like. Hearing the words from his father, angry father, Satyavrata instantly quit the house and went to the Chandalas. The prince, wearing his coat of armor and holding bows and arrows, began to spend away his time with the Chandalas. But he could not get out of his breast his feeling of sympathy and mercy. When he was banished from his liberal-minded, angry father, the Guru Vasishtha instigated the king the above purpose. Satyavrata was therefore angry with the Vasishtha, inasmuch as he first the Dharmashastras did not dissuade the father from banishing his son. His father then, owing to some inexplicable cause, quit the city. His father then, owing to some inexplicable cause, quit the city and, for the sake of his son, went to the forest to practice austerities. O king, owing to that sinful act, Indra did not reign at all in his kingdom for 12 years. O king, just then Vishwamitra, too, keeping his wife and children in that kingdom, began to practice severe austerities on the banks of the river Kaushiki. The beautiful wife of Kushka then fell into great trouble. How she would maintain the family? All the children, pained with hunger, began to cry, begging for rice and food. The chaste wife of Kushika became very much troubled seeing all this. She thought, seeing the children hungry, where am I going to now? And from whom to beg and what to do, inasmuch as the king was not then staying in the kingdom. The husband is not also clear, so who would protect my children? The boys are incessantly crying. Therefore, to my life. She thought also thus, my husband left me in this penniless state. We are suffering for want of money. He does not know this. Though he is quite able, save my husband. Who else will support my sons? They will all die now of starvation. I might sell one of my sons. Whatever I get out of that, I can support the others. This is now my highest duty. I ought not to do otherwise, and kill all my children, so I will now sell one of my sons to support the others. Thus hardening her mind, she went out, trying the child to be roped round his neck. The Muni's wife, for the sake of the other children, fastened the middle son by a cord and got out of her house. The prince Satyavrata saw her distressed with pain and sorrow and asked, O beautiful one, what are you now going to do? Who are you? This boy is crying. Why have you tied him by a rope round his neck? O fair one, speak out truly to me the cause of all these problems. The wife of that Kaushiki said, O prince, I am the wife of Vishwamitra. These are my sons. I am now going for want of food to sell one of my child, these out of my own accord. O king, my husband was gone away to practice tapasya. I do not know where he has gone. There is no food in the house, so I will sell one to support the others. Satyavrata said, O chaste one, save your children. I will bring to you your articles of food from the forest till your husband does not come here. Daily I will fasten some food on a tree close by your ashrama. This I speak truly. The wife of Vishwamitra, hearing these words of the prince, freed the child of the fastening and took him to her ashrama. The child was named afterwards as Galaba, due to his being fastened by the neck. He became a great rishi afterwards. The Vishwamitra's wife then felt great pleasure in her home, surrounded by her children. Filled and with regard and mercy, Satyavrata duly performed his task and provided daily the family of Vishwamitra with their food. He used to hurt wild boars, deer, buffaloes, etc., and used to take their flesh to the place where used to dwell the house of Vishwamitra and the children, and tie that up to an adjoining tree. The Rishi's wife used to give those to her children. Thus, getting excellent food, she felt very happy. Now, when King Aruna went for tapasya to the forest, the Muni Vasishtha carefully guarded the Ayodhya city and the palace and the household. Satyavrata too used to sustain his livelihood daily by hunting according to his father's order and abiding by dharma, living in the forest outside the city. Satyavrata cherished always in his heart for some cause a feeling anger towards Vasishtha. When his father banished his religious son, Vasishtha did not prevent his father. This is the cause of Satyavrata's anger. Marriage does not become valid until 7 footsteps are trodden in a ceremony. So, the stealing away of a girl within that period is not equivalent to stealing away a Brahmin's wife. The virtuous Vasishtha knew that, yet he did not prevent the king. One day the prince did not find anything for hunting. He saw in the forest the cow of Vasishtha giving milk. Very much distressed by hunger, the king killed the cow like a dacoit, partly out of anger and partly out of delusion. He fastened part of the flesh to that tree for the wife of Vishwamitra, and the remainder he ate himself. Oh, one of good oaths, the Vishwamitra's wife did not know that to be a beef, and thought to be a deer, or so fed her sons with that. Now, when Vasishtha came to know that is his cow had been killed, he was inflamed in anger and spoke to Satyavrata. O vicious one, what a heinous crime you have committed, like a pishachi, by killing the cow. For the killing of the cow, the stealing of Brahmin's wife, and the fiery anger of your father, for these 3 crimes, let there come out on your head three sankus, or 3 marks of leprosy, as the signs of your crimes. From this day you will be widely known as name of Trishanku, and you will show your Pishacha form to all the beings. Vyasa Maharishi said, O king, the prince Satyavrata, thus cursed by Vasishtha Maharishi, remained in that stage, retreat, and practiced severe tapasya, but he got from Muni's son the excellent mantram of the highest auspicious Devi Bhagavati, and became merged in the contemplation of that Bhagavati Stotra. Here ends the 10th chapter of the 7th book on the story of Satyavrata in the Mahapuranam of Srimad Devi Bhagavatham of 18,000 shlokas by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Now we are going to the 11th chapter, the story of Trishanku. Janamejaya said, O Guruji, did the prince Trishanku free himself afterwards the curse inflicted on him by Muni Vasishtha? He was asking Janamejaya. Vyasa Maharshi said, O King Satyavrata, cursed by Vasishtha, was transferred into a demonical state, Pishachatva. But he became a great devotee of Devi and passed away his time in that ashrama. One day, he repeating slowly the 9-lettered mantram of the Bhagavati, wished to perform the Purushacharana ceremony, repeating the name of a deity attended with burnt offerings, oblations, etc. of the said mantra, came to the Brahmins, came to the Brahmins and bowed down to them with a great devotion and purity, and said, O venerable gods of the earth, kindly hear me. I, with my head bowed down, pray to you that you all be my priest. Ritvigs, you are all versed in the Vedas. So kindly do for me duly conduct the yajna ceremony equal to 1/10 part of the japam for my success. O Brahmanas, my name is Satyavrata. I am a prince. You ought to do this work for me, for my welfare. This hearing the prince's words, the Brahmanas said, O prince, you are cursed by your guru, and you are now in the turned into demonical state, Pishachatva. You have now no right to the Vedas, especially you are now in the Pishacha state. It is blamed by all the persons. So now you are now not fit to be initiated into the ceremony. Vyasa Maharishi said, O king, hearing them, the prince got very sad and dejected and thought, he is on my life. What shall I do now in living even in the forest? My father has forsaken me. I am banished from the kingdom again by the Guru's curse. I have got this Pishacha state. I therefore can't decide what to do. The prince then, collecting fuel, prepared the funeral pile for himself. Remembered the Chandika Devi and repeating her mantram, resolved to jump into the fire. Lighting the fire in front, the prince bathed and standing with clasped palms began to chant the hymns of Mahamaya before entering into the fire. At this moment, the Devi Bhagavati, knowing that the prince was already to burn himself, came instantly to the spot on the bank of the river. He was repeating mantram, resolved to jump into the fire, lighting the fire in front. The prince bathed and standing with clasped palms began to chant the hymns of Mahamaya before entering into the fire. At this moment, Devi Bhagavati, knowing that the prince was ready to burn himself, came instantly to the spot on the back of the lion by the aerial route. She manifested herself before him and spoke in a voice deep like a rain cloud. O virtuous one, what is all this? What have you settled for all this? Never throw yourself in a fire. Be patient. O fortunate one, your father is now aged. He will give you his kingdom and will go to the forest for tapasya. Therefore, O hero, do leave your depression of spirits. O king, tomorrow the ministers of your father will come to you to take you there. By my grace, your father will install you on the throne, and in due time he will conquer his desires and will go undoubtedly to the Brahmaloka. Vyasa Maharshi said, O fortunate one, thus saying the Devi vanished at the spot. The prince too desisted from his purpose of entering into the fire. In the meanwhile, the high-souled Narada went to Ayodhya and at once informed everything to the king. The king became very sad and began to repent very much. Hearing his son's resolve to burn himself, the virtuous king, grieved at heart for his son, said to his ministers, You all are aware of the turning out of my son. I have forsaken my intelligent son Satyavrata, though he was very spiritual and worthy to get the kingdom. Yet at my command, he instantly went away to the forest. Void of the wealth, he practicing forgiveness, passed his time in study, particularly in spiritual knowledge. But Vasishtadeva cursed him and made him like a pishacha. Very much distressed by pain and sorrow, he was ready to burn himself, but the Mahadevi preventing him, he desisted from his purpose. So go hurriedly and consoling my powerful elder son, bring him at once to me. I am now calm and quiet and of a retiring disposition. So I am determined to practice tapasya. My son is now capable of to govern his subjects. I will now install my son on the throne and retire to the forest. So he gladly sent his ministers to his son. The ministers too gladly went there and consoled the prince and with respect brought him to the Ayodhya city. Though seeing Satyavrata with matted hair on his head, with dirty clothes and a thin worn out with cares, the king began to think within himself, Oh, what a cruel act I have done to my son. Though I know everything about religion, in banishing my intelligent son, quite fit to govern my kingdom. Thus thinking what thus thinking he embraced his son by his arms and consoling him, made him sit on his throne. The king, versed in politics, then began to speak gladly with suffocated feelings of love for his son sitting by the side of him. O son, your highest duty is to keep your mind always on religion and to respect the Brahmins. Never speak falsely anywhere, nor follow any bad course in any way. Rather, the words of the spiritual good persons ought to be fully observed. The ascetics ought to worship ascetics. Never speak false anywhere, nor follow any bad course in any way. Rather, the words of the spiritual good persons ought to be fully observed and respected. The ascetics ought to be worshipped. Senses must be controlled, and the wicked, cruel robbers are certainly to be slain. O son, for one's success, one should one should consult with one's ministers and keep that as secret by all means. Any enemy, howsoever insignificant he may be, clever king should never overlook him. The ministers, if they be attached to other masters and if they come round afterwards, don't trust them. Spies should be kept to watch friends and foes alike. So show your living regards to the religion always, and make charitable gifts. One ought not to argue in vain, and always avoid the company of the wicked. O son, you should worship the Maharishi and perform various sacrifices. Never trust women, those who are inordinately addicted to women and the gamblers. Never is it advisable to be addicted too much to hunting. Always show your back to gambling, drinking, music, and the prostitutes, and try to make your subjects follow the same everybody in the kingdom. Early in the morning at Brahma Muhurta, every day you should get up and your bed and bathe, perform other analogous duties. O son, um, O son, be initiated by Guru in the Devi mantra and worship with devotion the supreme force. The Bhagavati human birth is crowned with success by worshipping her lotus feet. O son, he who performs once the great puja of the Mahadevi and drinks the Charanamrita water with which her feet were worshipped, has never to enter again in the womb of his mother. Know this as a certain, that Mahadevi is all that is seen, and she herself is again that seer and witness of the nature of the intelligence. Filled with these ideas, rest fearless like the universal soul. Do you daily naimittika occasional duties? Go to Brahmin's assembly and calling on them, ask the conclusions of the Dharmashastra. The Brahmins versed in the Vedas and Vedantas and Dharmashastras are objects of venerations and must be worshipped. Give them always according to merits, cows, lands, gold, etc. Don't worship any Brahmin who is illiterate. Don't give to illiterates more than their bellyful wants. O child, never trespass dharma out of covetousness, and reminder always not to insult ever afterwards any Brahmins. The Brahmins are the cause of the Kshatriyas. The more so, they are the terrestrial gods. Honor them with all your care. In this, never flinch from your duties. Fire comes out of water, the Kshatriyas come out of Brahmins. Iron comes out of stones, the powers of these flow everywhere. But if there be any clash between that one thing and its source, then that clash dies away in the source. Know this as a quiet curtain. The king who, especially to the Brahmins, follow the maxims of morality as dictated in the Dharmashastras, amass wealth according to rules of justice, and fill the treasury. Here ends the 11th chapter of the 7th book of the story of Trishanku in the Mahapurana of Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 shlokas by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. अंब परमेश्वरी अखिलांडेश्वरी आदिपराशक्ति पालय मां. अंब परमेश्वरी अखिलांडेश्वरी आदिपराशक्ति पालय मां. ओम नमोस्तु अनंताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादाक्षरभाव सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाश्रुते सहस्रकोटि युगधारणे नमः. सहस्रकोटि युगधारणे नमः. आकाशात्मनितं मेधागरसागरं सर्वदेव नमस्कारः. श्रीकेशवं प्रयत्यो नमः. सर्वभेदेषु पुण्यं सर्वतीर्थेषु यत्फलं तत्फलं पुष्माप्तिवासनात् वासुदेवस्य वासन्ते जगत्त्रयं सर्वभूतनिवासोऽसि वासुदेव नमोऽस्तुते. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावः करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. नारायणाय समर्पयामि. ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुण्डाय विच्चे. 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 Next time we will go to chapter 12th of the Devi Bhagavatam in the next session. Thank you very much.